Welcome to Ascension 17, the podcast to assist you in ascending your personal limitations in order to reach your full potential as a sovereign spiritual being of light. Sponsored by Ascension17.com, the place to go for ascension guidance, training, and healing. And now here's your host, Cynthia Clark, Spiritual Intuitive. Hello, my spiritual friends. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I am so excited to be here today. I want to talk a little bit about the equinox because we just passed the vernal equinox here in the northern hemisphere, or the autumnal equinox if you are in the southern hemisphere. The equinox has to do with the time of day and night being equal when you are in these different hemispheres. So what that is an indication of is that it's time for us to get back into balance. And I've been meditating a lot lately on balance, probably because I have seen a lot of imbalance in the world, right? We have so much imbalance going on right now. And in my opinion, we have some excess anger energy that is just needs to be contained. So the reason I want to talk about the equinox is to help you relate to how this comes back to your hands. So your hands actually tell you your different elements. Okay, so when we think about balance, we look at the four elements. We've got earth, fire, air, and water. So the four elements. And these four elements are present in the natural world. You know, they're all over the place, right? But they're also located within us, within our bodies. And you can see the quality of those reflected through the hands. So you can actually tell if you have, say, a fire imbalance, an earth imbalance, a water imbalance. You can see all of those things through the hands. So even if you've had your hands red before, these things can change over time as well. So you may have something that comes up and suddenly it's something that you need to be aware of. So when we have these imbalances, it's an indication that we have something in our life that isn't going well, or we're reacting to something. I mean, ultimately, there's only four things that you're responsible for in this world, and that is your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your reactions. So if we have a problem in any of these areas, it'll show up as an imbalance. So I feel like I need to help you with you and also the planet, because this is what I do, is I try to help with the ascension process. So if we are stuck in, say, too much fire element, then there's something we need to do about it. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about these four elements and what these imbalances can look like. Okay, so earth element, when we have too much earth element, what does that look like? Think about a mountain that is big and tall and immovable, right? Too much earth can be stubbornness, it can be an inability to adapt, it can be just being maybe happy where you are, but maybe that's not really the best place for you to be. You know, it can restrict your growth. So that would be some examples of too much earth element. By the way, in hands, we call this the Goldilocks rule of hands. So for those of you who don't know Goldilocks, this was a story about a little girl with blonde hair, and she went to this cabin of three bears, and she the bears were not home, but she ended up trying their beds, and she also tried their porridge. She did a bunch of stuff. She really made herself at home inside this cabin that wasn't hers, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, what she found was that the porridge was too hot, the porridge was too cold, and then the last one would be just right. The bed would be too hard, the bed would be too soft, and then the bed would be just right. So in hands, this is the same thing. If we have too much of something, then we're going to have too little of something else, and we need to find the balance of what's just right. And you can work within your elements too. So, the first rule of hands is actually to be your type. So if you're a fire hand, for example, you want to be fire energy. Don't try to be an earth hand. It's like the daisy that tries to be a rose. I mean, it just doesn't work. You don't expect your sweet little Cavalier King Charles to be a German Shepherd. These are, I mean, it's craziness, right? It doesn't make any sense. So we want to be who we are designed to be, and then we want to work with that by integrating our opposite, integrating the balance. And that's where we can find our joy, and that's how we can progress in our lives. So then we look at, let's look at air element next, okay? So if we have too much air element, that's, I feel like a lot of the world is like that. They're the ones who are all about, trust the science. You got to listen to the science. Ultimately we go back to science. It's kind of funny. It's like we're supposed to propose a hypothesis and try to prove it or disprove it, right? That's what science actually is all about. So we need to keep an open mind. So again, if you have too much air, you can be overly stuck in a certain way of thinking, all right? And not open to new ideas, not open to new ways of thinking. And we need to get above that, right? We need to be open-minded enough to let new concepts in. So that's too much air. Fire, of course, when you think about fire, that one's really easy. What happens when you have a big fire? Well, you have probably something that's out of control, right? This has to do with anger, frustration, rage, all of that energy just going out there. That's what it has to do with. And then if we have too much water element, water has to do with the emotions. It's the sensitive feeling side of ourselves. So if we have too much water, then we get waterlogged, right? We get overwhelmed by emotions. We get, maybe we get depressed, or we have feelings of hopelessness or helplessness. These are just typical when we have too much water. And then of course we can't move forward because we're stuck in this torrent, right? You think about the big river that you're being swept away in, and you can't get out of it because water does hold a lot of power. So we can also have too little of all of these things, okay? So what does too little earth look like? Well, too little earth means that we are unable to ground. We're unable to find our sense of security and stability. And we might wander around aimlessly, or maybe we can't make any money because we don't have a foundation. We don't have that stick-to-itiveness, or however you say that, where you're able to go through the steps that are needed in order to be successful. I do find a lot of people are lacking in the earth element these days because they do seem to give up rather easily. And yeah, life is hard. It's not supposed to be easy. We signed up for this. So we need to bring in some more of that earth. If we have too little air, well, that's somebody who's just not even curious. They're not, not only do they not know what they don't know, but they don't know that they don't know it, to actually seek it. So people without air element tend to be stuck in this little tiny world, and they think that's it. They think that's all there is, and they're not even willing or able to look at something else other than that little teeny world, which I actually find very sad, because the world is designed for us to grow and evolve inside. So we're meant to expand, right? So then we've got too little fire. Okay, too little fire could be not enough passion, because we need fire. Fire is like the drive. Fire is like the ambition, the passion, the hunger for something more. So fire is important, and that's the spiritual element too that drives us. So if we don't have any fire element, we could really be in a bad place. We could either not be looking at our spirituality at all, or we could be just maybe doing something that's inappropriate for us and just settling, like being in a job that's not appropriate for you. Or we could just be, going through life passionless and thinking, well, this is how it is. Life sucks and this is how it is. Somebody who just settles for things. And if we have too little water, water is the emotional element, like I said before. So we want to be able to access our feelings. We're definitely here to feel things, and we're designed to feel things. So if we cut off our emotions, what does that make us? That makes us machines. And, we can be, having a lack of empathy, having a lack of just understanding our fellow humans. This is not a good place to be either. So anyway, so you can see all of these things through your hands, and you can actually identify all four of the elements in your hands, and you can see if you have too much or too little within any of these elements. So, for example, I am a fire hand. So I have a lot of passion and drive, and I like to go do things, but I also have a lot of water. That's my secondary element. So that's two opposite elements coming together. And by having these two elements together, it brings in my sensitivity, my intuition, combining with my drive and ambition. And, but again, looking at maybe what's lacking, okay, well, yeah, I'm lacking maybe a little bit in earth. I sometimes have a hard time just focusing on one thing or sticking around long enough to do something. I'm a good starter, but not necessarily a good finisher. And then I also lack a little bit of air. So yes, I am curious, but sometimes I get distracted. So I actually can get interested in too many things, which is, it's fun and exciting, but not always practical. So anyway, if you want to learn a little bit more about how these elements show up in your hands, I decided that I really wanted to help you guys with this balance thing. And I want to take it beyond just this podcast. And I want to go into actually showing it to you in your hands. So I'm going to be teaching a master class on the elements and the four elements in balance. And we're actually going to do a healing session with it and balance the elements in your own body. So this is what I'm going to be doing. If you are not in my newsletter list, you need to get on it right away before I do this masterclass. Just go to ascension17.com and you can sign up right there on the home page. I also have a free heart chamber report that you get when you sign up. So the heart chambers represent your emotional chambers that are inside your heart, and they represent different emotions that you can actually read again through your hands. Your hands tell you so much information. They're so useful. So you'll get that for free. And then you can sign up for this free masterclass if you're interested. And we're going to do some equinox balancing. So I wanted to do a quick little podcast today just to talk about that. And I look forward to working with you and assisting you in your own limitations, your own struggles, because ultimately when we come back into that balanced space, the world really opens up for us, and we can really become limitless, which is, when I think about ascension is overcoming our limits. And it's a beautiful process. It's an ongoing process, and one that I'm happy to share with you. So have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful equinox. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And I look forward to connecting with you again very soon. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Ascension 17. Are you interested in ascending your personal challenges and limitations? Are you seeking a higher perspective for your life so you can reach your full potential? Just go to ascension17.com and sign up for your free palmistry heart chamber report to discover a new way to free yourself from emotional limitations.